Welcome to the Book of Days Project. The Book of Days Project today comes to you from the temperate climes of the San Francisco Bay. Yes, it's as if winter has been suspended for a brief weekend as temperatures hover around the 60s. February 20th, let's go back to 19th century London, however, and discuss what Chambers in his Book of Days remarked upon on this day. Born François-Marie Arouet de Voltaire, poet, dramatist, historical and philosophical writer, 1694 in Châtenay. David Garrett, actor and dramatist in 1716, Hereford. And died on this day, Archbishop Arundel in 1413, Canterbury. That's the Comtesse von Kalamazoo leaving me a message. Also dead on this day, Joseph Hume, statesman in 1855. Dorothy Sidney, Countess of Sunderland in 1684. In Brighton she died. I spent some time as a young bloke in Sunderland in years gone by. It is the feast day of Saints Tyriano and Zenobius and others, martyred in Phoenicia about 310. Saint Sadith, Bishop of Seleucia in Ctesiphon, with 128 companions, were martyred in the year 342. Well, at least he didn't go it alone. And it is the feast day of Saint Ulrich of England in 1154. He met his end. Let's talk today of a particular lane of great fame in London. It's Warwick Lane. Few of the thoroughfares of old London have undergone such mutations of fortune as may be traced in Warwick Lane, once the site of the house of the famed Beauchamps, Earls of Warwick, afterwards distinguished by including in its precincts the College of Physicians, now solely remarkable for an abundance of those private shambles which are still permitted to disgrace the English metropolis. In the coroner's rolls of 5 centuries ago, we read of mortal accidents which befell youths in attempting to steal apples in the neighboring orchards of Paternoster Row and Ivy Lane, then periodically redolent of fruit blossoms, when fruit orchards bordered the city of London. Warwick Inn, as the ancient house was called, was possessed by Cecily, Duchess of Warwick, in about 1450. 8 years later, when the greater estates of the realm were called up to London, Richard Neville, Earl of Warwick, the kingmaker, remarks, "I came with 600 men, all in red jackets, embroidered with ragged staves before and behind, and was lodged in Warwick Lane, in whose house there were oftentimes 6 oxen eaten at a single breakfast, and every tavern was full of its meat. But he that had any acquaintance in that house might have there so much of sodden and roast meat as he could prick and carry on a long dagger." End quote. The Great Fire of 1666 in London swept away the Warwick Lane stove's time, and when it was rebuilt, there was placed upon the house at its northwest end a bas-relief of Guy, Earl of Warwick, in memory of the princely owners of the inn, with the date 1668 upon it. The College of Physicians, built by Wren to replace a previous factory, burnt down in the Great Fire, and may still be seen on the west side of the lane, but sunk into the condition of a butcher's shop. Though in a confined situation, it seems to have formerly been considered an impressive structure, the exterior being thus described in Garth's witty satire of the dispensary. "Not far from that most celebrated place where angry justice shews her awful face, where little villains must submit to fate, that great ones may enjoy the world in state, there stands a dome majestic to the sight, and sumptuous arches about its awful height. A golden globe, placed high with artful skill, seems to be to the distant sight a gilded pill." This simile is a happy one, though Mr. Elmes, Miss Wren's biographer, ingeniously suggests that the gilt globe was perhaps intended to intimate the universality of the healing art. Let's continue on a little bit further about Warwick Lane. In the lane there are 2 old galleried inns, which carry us back to the broad-wheeled traveling wagons of our forefathers. About midway on the east side is the Bell Inn, where the pious Archbishop Leighton ended his earthly pilgrimage according to his wish, which Bishop Burnet states him to have thus expressed in the same peaceful and moderate spirit as that by which, in the troublous times of the Commonwealth, Leighton won the affections of even the most rigid Presbyterians. He used often to say that if he were to choose a place to die in, it should be in inn, it looking like a pilgrim's going home, to whom this world was as all an inn, and who was weary of the noise and confusion in it. He added that the officious tenderness and care of friends was an entanglement to a dying man, and that the unconcerned attendance of those that could be procured in such a place would give less disturbance, and he obtained what he desired, for he died at the Bell Inn in Warwick Lane. Own Times was the name. Fascinating. Somewhat lower in the lane is a street leading to Newgate Market, which Gay has thus signalized. Shall the large mutton smoke upon your boards? Such Newgate's copious market best affords. Before the Great Fire, this market was kept at Newgate Street, where there was a market house formed and a middle row of sheds, which afterwards were converted into houses and inhabited by butchers, tripe sellers, and the like. The stalls in the open street grew dangerous, and were accordingly removed into the open space between Newgate Street and Paternoster Row, formerly orchards already mentioned. And here were the houses of the prebends of St. Paul's, overgrown with ivy, whence Ivy Lane takes its name. Although amidst the turmoil of the market, with the massive dome of St. Paul's on one side and that of the old College of Physicians on the other, it is hard to associate the place with the domain of a nymph so lovely as Pomona. The other galleried inn of Warwick Lane is the Oxford Arms, within a recess of the west side and nearly joining to the residential houses of St. Paul's in Amen Corner. It is one of the best specimens of the old London inns remaining in the metropolis. It was said of this house, these are to give notice, that Edward Bartlett, Oxford carrier, hath removed his inn in London from the Swan at Holborn Bridge to the Oxford Arms in Warwick Lane, where he did inn before the fire. His coaches and wagons going forth on their usual days, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. He has also a hearse with all things convenient to carry a corpse to any part of England. Fascinating. At the Oxford Arms in Warwick Lane lived John Roberts, the bookseller, from whose shop issued the majority of the squibs and libels on Pope, Alexander Pope, that is. Fascinating things on Warwick Lane took place. If ever in London, hunt it down, see what there lies now. Later from the Book of Dates Project.